Welcome those into attendance today. City of Lawrence Board of Public Works and Safety meeting held here at the George Keller Public Assembly Room in the Lawrence Governmental Center, December 28th, 2022, 5 p.m. The agenda reflects that we will call the meeting to order. Let it reflect that we do have a quorum to do business today for the city. Going directly into the agenda minutes of the regular meeting on November 10th, 2022. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Clark, is there a second?
I second.
No.
Sean would have to second that because she was at that meeting.
Oh, I forgot you were there.
Sean, can you hear us?
Yes, I was not at that. I was not at the last meeting.
No, we're talking
10th.
November 10th, not
You
December
were-
8th.
Oh, 2 meetings ago. Yes,
Yep.
second. Yes.
She will second it. All right, we have a motion on the table that has now been seconded. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor by roll call signify by saying aye. Doug Reeser abstain. Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mrs. Browner?
Yes.
And the motion carries 2-0. Those minutes are approved. Thank you. Minutes of the regular meeting on December 8th, 2022. Corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve December 8th minutes?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Clark, is there a second?
And I was not at that meeting.
Right.
Okay, I would second them and since I was. Okay, by roll call, are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, by roll call, we'll vote on those minutes being approved. Doug Reeser, aye. Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Mrs. Browner, you abstain, I assume?
Correct.
Correct. Motion carries 2-0. Unfinished business, none. Directly to new business. And Chief, you'll be up. Approval of the City of Lawrence Police Department use of armored rescue vehicle procedural notice.
First, thank you for having the meeting today. I know we were scheduled for last week when the weather hit and to reschedule to today, so it's not lost. This is a holiday week that everybody's here in attendance, so very grateful for that. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we have a couple of procedural notice updates that we needed to get done before January 1. That was hence the importance of this meeting. Both of them are to comply with recent directives from both the state and the federal government regarding, in this particular, in the first case on the agenda, first item on the agenda, the armored vehicle use policy. We actually borrowed this policy, most of the language from this policy from our friends at Bloomington Police Department, who have developed this policy, and we just tailored it to our needs. And there's a new directive that came out for the use of these vehicles from it's a presidential directive directly from President Biden. So this policy will allow us to be in compliance with that directive that was recently distributed to law enforcement agencies who have this particular type of armored rescue vehicle.
Okay.
And do you mind just telling what was the Biden directive?
Yeah, the concern was, in some jurisdictions, certainly not here, but in other jurisdictions, there was some concern that the use of these armored vehicles were being used inappropriately. They were being more used to threaten and intimidate citizens instead of to help and support, and to be defensive instead of offensive. With our vehicle, there's nothing offensive about it. It's strictly a defensive weapon. It's strictly a defensive tool, not a weapon, to be used in only certain circumstances. So this new policy procedural notice certainly it's the way we were already doing business anyway, but now it's actually in a written procedural notice. So, and it allows us to continue to the use of this vehicle after January 1.
Good to know. Thank you.
Okay. Any further questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the vehicle procedural notice?
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Clark, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Brown. Are there questions on the motion? Hearing none, by roll call vote, All those in favor individually, Mr. Reeser, aye. Mr. Clark?
Aye.
And Mrs. Browner?
Aye.
Aye, so the motion carries 3-0. Item A is approved. Item B, approval of City of Lawrence Police Department vehicle pursuits procedural notice. And again, Chief.
Thank you. So once again, this is to comply with recent Law Enforcement Training Board directives, where they sent out to law enforcement agencies in Indiana a set of minimum standards that agencies are to meet prior to January 1 when it comes to vehicle pursuits. Our current policy that we had in place met and complied with 95% of the language in the model policy that the Law Enforcement Training Board distributed, and we just had to make a few language tweaks and a couple of updates, and that's it. So this is, again, for us to be in compliance with the recent Law Enforcement Training Board directive that each agency adopted the minimum standards approved by the Law Enforcement Training Board.
Okay, questions?
Is this similar to like what City of Speedway, Beech Grove, everyone has something similar?
Yes, yeah. Most agencies have pursuit policies in. It's up to the local agency to decide how they want that to look like. Of course, approved by
Sure.
this board. And so again, this is an update. It really makes the policies and the standards consistent across the state with agencies both large and small, and sets the minimum standards that an agency has to meet as far as vehicle pursuits. So again, our current one, our existing one, met with about 95% of the language contained in the directive from the Law Enforcement Training Board, but it has some language updates and a few very minor tweaks to it.
All right.
Thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the vehicle pursuit procedural notice?
Motion to approve.
By Mr. Clark. Is there a second?
Second.
By Mrs. Browner. Questions on the motion? Hearing none, again by roll call vote, we'll entertain that motion. Mr. Reeser, aye. Mr. Clark?
Aye.
Aye for Mr. Clark. And Mrs. Browner?
Aye.
Aye. So that is a motion of 3-0 that carries, and that is approved. Comments from administration? Anything, Chief?
Well, I'll be brief on that, but just a huge shout out to our Department of Public Works, Street Department, Parks Department, everybody that was out there clearing the streets with the recent weather event. You know, the cold, the wind really exacerbated the issue, and they just did their usual magnificent job. The streets in Lawrence are fantastic. We get so many compliments and notices of people coming in to Lawrence. Wow, the streets here are clear. They look great. Coming in from other municipalities. So again, huge shout out. I know they put in a lot of hours over holiday weekend, and along with the public safety, first responders. You know, everybody contributed their part to maintain the overall safety here in the city of Lawrence. So magnificent job by all who contributed to that.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
thank you. I second that.
All right. Well,
Preferred it.
we appreciate it. The board,
Amazing.
Board of Safety, of course, appreciates that, and the job that team does, your team, and all the efforts our workers make, for sure. Citizens' comments?
None.
Chief Hoffman, anything from you today, or are you just here to observe? Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Clark, second.
Second.
Aye, Mrs. Browner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are
Aye.
adjourned 3-0. Have fun at football.